What's going on? My name's Lane. You wanted to know more about the Woodrite Warlord, so let's get into it. I wanted to make this video because there didn't seem to be too much information on these guitars other than from Does It Doom, who Steve, I believe is his name, puts them out. This is the 2023 Honeyburst, I believe. I did not buy this guitar new, it is secondhand. I wanted to do a video, do a pro-con style video to show what I liked and disliked and kind of to say why I'm getting rid of it. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around.
The Woodrite Warlord is a fully bound mahogany neck and body, 24 and 3/4 inch scale length, 12 inch radius, 22 fret neck. It comes in a number of finish options. The pickups are Woodrite Barbarian pickups. It is a 2-volume, 2-tone, 3-way toggle switch.
Okay, so getting into the pros, what I like about the guitar. First and foremost, I love the grain on it. The wood selection, it seemed like on a lot of them it was very good, but on this one, and I will have close-ups I will add, but on this, the flamed maple top really pops. The paint job is done exceptionally well on it. The fade is great. The binding is great. Overall, the looks of the guitar is awesome. Obviously, a big part of why we like these guitars is because of the double cutaway shape. Although I've never owned a first act, this seems to nail it pretty stinking close. It obviously looks superior. It's got a great headstock. I always gripe about these headstocks. You try as close as you can not to be Gibson. I felt like they did an excellent job getting close without going over. Another thing I really enjoyed about the guitar, the pickups. I can't remember what they call these pickups, but they sound excellent for what's in the guitar coming from the factory. Normally I end up swapping out. I'm a big DiMarzio guy, but these, they sound great. They're a good warm pickup. It sounds kind of like a hot PAF. So I was really impressed with these being stock pickups coming in an Indonesian made guitar. The other thing I liked with the release of them is the color options you could get. This is obviously one of many, but it wasn't just more of a traditional burst run or something like you'd see with Les Pauls, but rather there was some options, some solid white, flat black, different things like that. So I really like that they come up with a few different other things that's not just the traditional see-through top like this. So now I wanted to get to a few different things that unfortunately I didn't like that much about the guitar. The first and biggest thing is this guitar is $1,500 new. And the fact that they don't give you a case for a $1,500 guitar at this day and age, I mean, that really sticks in my craw. This is a nice guitar. It should be packaged well. Cases these days are not as expensive, and for that much, any guitar over $1,000, in my opinion, at that point, if you're shipping it, you got to put a case with it. Some of the things I noticed, there's some binding imperfections. Although it looks great, there's certain spots where I see that's just, I don't know if quality control didn't catch it. I don't know if it's just something that was within their wheelhouse, within their threshold of what they flag and don't. But there's just some issues on that. Some of the dots. I had issues with the switch, and like I said, I did get this guitar secondhand, but it ended up being a faulty switch, which I replaced and soldered, but it just wouldn't get a good connection on the down and up stroke, and you'd have to sit here and hit it a few times. Another thing I noticed, referring to the quality of parts used, is that tuners, these are Wilkinson tuners, and they are definitely not bad, but I've noticed this is the first guitar I've had in a while that I have to tune every time I pick it up. Even now, filming this video, I've been playing, and as I've been playing, I have already tuned it twice in 30 minutes of me sitting here at the jam space in a climate-controlled room. The climate in whether it be your house or something, if you take this guitar outside and let it sit for 10-15 minutes, I've noticed it is drastically worse than my Strat or my Les Paul if I were to take them out. I don't know the reason. I don't know if maybe it's just the wood in this guitar. I don't know if it has something to do with the tuners. I normally change everything out to Grovers. I just left these, but I did notice that it becomes a frequent thing. The tuners don't seem to be very smooth when tuning. There's a lot of times that tension, it'll either be too much or not enough, and sometimes trying to nail a certain note can really be tedious. Also, speaking of materials, having a plastic nut, at least to me what feels like plastic, once again, I really wish it would have been a bone nut or Graphtec, something like that. I think that would have been a little better quality for this instrument, because the wood itself really, the bulk of the instrument really is great. I guess it's just would be a for sure upgrade to maybe switch some of these hardware parts out. Another reason I wasn't too big of a fan of the guitar was out of all the interviews I'd seen with Matt Pike talking about his DC6 and his DC9 that he has, his big thing was he wanted it to be a big body, big fat neck, and I was really hoping that was what was going to be this guitar. And the body is a good size. I compared it, and it's just about the same thickness as my Les Paul is. But and this is a personal preference thing, but the neck is too thin for me. The guitar almost feels incorrectly weighted. It almost wants to go, instead of a neck dive, it wants to try to body dive, because it seems like there's so much chunk at the end of this body that the neck is just frail. And to the point I can hit notes and push out and bend the neck out to detune slightly. I didn't, I wish there would have been another option for a thicker neck, especially with these guitars. I was thinking because it was a big, chunky, kind of Les Paul type build, I figured it would have came with a chunky Les Paul type neck. That is a personal preference of mine. So some of you guys that like a thinner neck, I would say this is definitely close to like a slim C, like a 70s Les Paul Custom, like a slim C neck. And I do feel like there is some bit of sustain loss potentially because of it. I feel like maybe because there's not enough chunk here, it just doesn't hold on the way maybe my Les Paul does. Something else, which is another personal preference thing, is the switch location. I think, I don't know, and I might be alone in this, but from the first act DCs, they moved it from down here to up here. Personally, I don't like it in this spot. I'm a big aggressive guy. A lot of times I'm hammering down, and so if I come back up, I'm hitting that switch. And I guess that would be good if you were a little easier of a player, but I personally like the switch being down here, which I even moved my Les Paul switch. Did more of a flying V type setup to move that switch down here. It personally, to me, it just seems to be easier to get to, but not in the way. Like I said, if that's something, if you like it here, then this is definitely a good advantage, and it's not a bad spot where it is, but I just preferred the spot on the lower side of the body, which the first act DCs came with. One of the last things I wanted to talk about, which to me, it really, at first it didn't bother me at all, but I noticed the more I played, the more it seemed to inhibit my flow when I was soloing. But the location of the strap and strap button on the guitar, to me, it appears that it is further up on the guitar, further to the nut side than a Les Paul is. It seems like a Les Paul, even though it bolts up here, where the horn is, it seems to be more in line with about the 15th fret versus with this one, it seems to be out further, and it is kind of inhibiting when playing, especially if you're a thumb over guy. There's a big chunk of the neck. Let me try to get to where you can see it, but you can see the body's very thick right here. This is a full hand hold, and trying to reach some of these upper register notes, it ends up becoming a real bear because you're kind of having to push the strap out of the way to really get to it, as well as it's so thick at the very beginning. Whereas I feel like on a Les Paul, even thumb over, there's a lot smoother contour into the heel. Whereas this one seems to be popped out a little bit further. And obviously, like I said, this is a opinion on mine, and it could be something very well that does not bother you. But to me, especially playing with a band, I'm in my jam space right now, I've just noticed when I go, it kind of ends up getting in the way. I get locked up. Whereas I feel like on my Strat or on my Les Paul, it's a little easier to get up in here. And the other thing is, and this is to be expected with where it is, but also, the guitar wants to kind of fall this way. I think the body weight seems to affect that too. My Les Paul does do this a little bit, and I know an SG will, but with this, I think it might tie into that weight. It just seems to want to fall forward a lot more. Unfortunately, can't find much information on these guitars. There's not many like this floating around. They don't come up for sale too often, and so it's not likely you're going to be able to walk up to a guitar store, take one off the rack, and play it. So, I don't want to put these guitars down at all. I'm just thinking that for me, it's probably not worth the hype. And so I wanted to let other people know just in case, because I bought this guitar strictly on a whim of it looks cool. I wanted a DC, and this is as close as I can get because I don't have $4,000. And it is great. I don't know that I'd buy one new. The used market would probably be your friend on this deal, but I would for sure make sure that you're getting it with a case. And, when you do get it, play the living shit out of it, man. Enjoy it. It's not a bad guitar. We just got to find the ones that are right for us. So, anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions or something you can ask, this guitar is going up for sale pretty quickly, so maybe it's listed. Maybe it's not. Who knows? But I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. But anyway, thanks for watching.